Hello everyone, I'm joined again by Daryl Carter as we look to preview the weekend's action. We've got the Tingle Creek, we've got the Many Clouds Chase, there's the Betcher Chase, there's the Hilly Way Chase, there's the John Durkan, there's shed loads of racing this weekend. Daryl and I covered the November meeting at Cheltenham, which picked up quite a few horses. I think there was a few horses away from there that we picked up too, so fingers crossed we'll do it again. And Daryl, you're working at Sandown this weekend, are you?
Yes, mate. Yeah, just landed the gig at Sandown, or given an opportunity at Sandown on Friday and Saturday. So hopefully can get in there and add another course to the list with Wincanton and Cheltenham. So hopefully, a bit nervous, absolutely swamped, but let's hope it goes well. Fingers crossed.
I'm sure it will, mate. You do know what you're talking about, and Sandown. We've touched on this before. It's one of the biggest meetings of the year this time of year. The Tingle Creek. It all starts to kick off. There's loads of decent races that tie into spring festivals even later on in the season there. So we've had a good look at this. Well, I say a good look. We've had a look at the card for the weekend. We'll go through those races there. We'll touch on Aintree. We'll try and get some of the Irish stuff in. And then there might be a couple of races at Exeter tomorrow to look at. But I did ask a few people on the Facebook page if they had any questions for us. So we'll hammer through them if that's all right with you, mate.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
You were called out on one of these comments by Dean Pryor, so you can have that one straight away. What wins the Tingle Creek in one word?
That's the word.
Right, we'll cover that when we get into it a bit later then.
But a lot depends on who's running. Tactics are going to be vital. That's all I can say in that. So we'll get to that in a minute anyway, but we'll answer his question.
All right. We've got... Do we think the Native River's chances in the Gold, or Native River running in the Gold Cup will lessen his chances in the National? So I think on that front, they're going to run him this weekend, see how he stays at Aintree, and then they're going to work out the plan from there, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think they're going to be tempted to run again in the Gold Cup, aren't they? But I don't think they should. If they're going to target the National, then the Gold Cup leaves a mark on horses. We've seen plenty of times over the years before, and Annabelle Fly is probably the only horse that can do it, running the Gold Cup and then run well in the National. So, I would be going straight to the National. I'd be giving the Gold Cup a miss. I don't think he can win it. So I think they should go for the bigger target at the National. Personally,
yeah, well, that's fair. Someone else. Thomas Banks is asking, when do we think City Island's next going to run, and where do we think it will go for at the festival? So I've not heard anything about him being out anytime soon. I suspect Christmas would be the usual target. And you'd have to think of him being a Ballymore horse because he's going to go over fences. Probably JLT, do you reckon?
Yeah, quite possibly. I can't see him going for an RSA. Probably JLT. He's definitely going over fences though. When we see him, I'm not so sure. I don't know if there's been a slight setback or what, because I thought we'd have seen it by now, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I thought the same. I don't think he could be competitive in an RSA. JLT, like Sam Crow, is looking quite good. So I reckon it have to be JLT. And if we don't see him soon, then probably going to Champion Hurdle, wouldn't he? Because it's dropping away.
I think they've definitely got their mindset on going over fences. I don't like him anyway because he beat Champ last year. But
I'm in your camp on that as well, mate.
Man.
Right, so more about targets for Cheltenham. Where do we think Envoy Land and Abracadabras are going? I'll be able to sum this one up. Envoy Land has to go in the Ballymore, and Abracadabras has to go in the Supreme and come about 7th.
No, Envoy Allen will probably go for the Supreme. It's Grade 1 winner over 2 miles now. They're going to stay at 2 miles for a little bit. If he carries on winning, why change it?
True.
Andy Dufresne to go Ballymore. Yeah, either way, he's got it wrapped up, hasn't he?
Yeah. That's the thing. Obviously, that's probably why the questions can't, because it is a bit of a tilt. I'd like him to go Ballymore because I think that's the right place for him, but he could win a Supreme. He's that good, isn't he? Another one that's come up to do with this weekend. So Royal 7-1 each way, bet to nothing in the Tingle Creek. Won first time out last couple of seasons, not beaten far on the champion Jays. I think we did quickly look at this market before we came on, and there is each way first 3 with Betfair and Paddy Power. So we've mentioned about the race possibly cutting up. So maybe 7-1 could be an each way bet, but I wouldn't have him winning it, would you?
Look, it depends. This whole race for me depends around Under Sceaux. If the ground quickens up, Under Sceaux might stay in Ireland. But if Under Sceaux comes over to Sandown and goes hell to leather from the front, I think it will put Defi Du Seul's jumping under a bit of pressure. His jumping weren't that great behind Lost in Translation and City Oils back here last year. It really does evolve around him because he's the out-and-out pace angle in this race. If it turns tactical, Defi Du Seuil will win this all day long. And, So Royale's best coming off a strong pace. So I can see an each way angle if Du Seuil runs, but if he doesn't, it's hard to see him getting a strong pace. He looks to come off. So
yeah, fair comment. And then Stephen has asked what our best bets will be for Aintree on Saturday. So we'll come across to those, although it might not be our best bets. We're just previewing a couple of them. And then one for you, Daryl, because it's handicap based. I like the look of Man of Plenty in the handicap hurdle. I know he's fully exposed. I know he's vulnerable to younger legs, but course and conditions suit, and on the numbers, he looks like he's got a shout.
Look, I do like the horse. I do like Man of Plenty. He's dropped down to his last winning mark now of 123. For me, he needs something to change. I don't think he's quite good enough in Class 2 level. Even needs to drop back in class, or he is entered over the weekend up at 3 miles. Now, that would be interesting if they did step him up to 3 miles. Plenty of times he's been running on strongly late. He's off his winning mark, so you're right to keep an eye on him at the moment. But I would suggest that wait until something changes, i.e. the trip, dropping in class, something like that, for them to capitalise on that dropping mark. I think he's dropped like £10 in the last 5 or 6 runs. So he's definitely worth keeping an eye on. You're on the right lines there. Just make sure something changes for him to be able to, get the conditions that he needs. You don't want him running over the same sort of trip as he's always been running over in the same class of race, because he's just going to get the same result. So drop in class, step up in trip. You might be on to something.
Beauty. Right. Well, thanks for that, mate. So we're going to bang straight into the action at Sandown now on the Friday. There's an introductory juvenile hurdle. So that's for 3-year-olds that have only run in, at least one hurdle. So they can't have run any more than one hurdle. Goshen of Gary Moore's. That was a seriously impressive winner, wide margin runaway winner last time. I think it's only about 16-1 for the Triumph. He'd be interesting in there. There's a couple of Munir and Suede horses that are in there. So Go a Lil. Daryl Jacobs already jocked up on that, so it looks like that's probably going to run. Harry Cobden's jocked up on Time White for Paul Nicholls. That's the Stewart family horse. Ex-French flat runner. So bit of a weird one for me going into this stuff. I know they can all turn into it. And then Nicky Henderson's got a couple entered in there. Was there anything that sort of jumped off the score sheet for you straight off?
Only the fact that Gary Moore does quite well in this race, and it's interesting he sends Goshen here. Did the same with Violet Dancer and won it with Sussex Ranger 2 years ago.
Yep.
It'd be very interesting. I was quite impressed with that run. I thought it was quite powerful. I can see him heading the market. Nigel Twiston Davies actually sent out Torpillo in this race to win this last year. So Go a Lil definitely be the one going here. Ben Paulin's runners entered in Musselburgh on Monday, so I assume he'll be going there. I think it's out of the two, unless I'm completely missing something. Unless something turns out to be out of the ordinary, do you know what I mean? It's going to be between them two. I don't think you're going to get much leeway in the prices in the market. I think they're going to be heading the market. I would side at the moment with Goshen simply because I've not seen the Go a Lil, and I was quite impressed with Goshen's run. So yeah.
I think it was I can see it on there. He got a racing post rating of 144 for that run. So considering that's his first spin over hurdles, that's a ridiculous mark.
Yeah.
Maybe that shows how good racing post ratings are.
I mean, the race that he won was not that great. There's nothing really in it, but it was more the manner in which he won it. It was quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not something to get too stuck into. I wouldn't have thought. And he was 4 to 11 on when he won that at Goshen. So.
Absolutely. Then there's a couple of handicaps that come after that. There might be some things that might jump out of that, but at this point, I'm not too fussed about looking at them. A race that loads of people love. I obviously like it because it's a decent graded race. The Ballymore Winter Novices Hurdle. So 2:25 at Sandown. A few big names in there. Bossman Fred ran today. Won't be running in this. He stepped up to 3 miles. House Island for Paul Webber's in there. Recent winner of all the gin joints. St Xavier for Paul Nicholls and David Maxwell. Over the top for Ronnie Murphy. He's got a few entries, I think, but Dickie Johnson's booked up here. So I'll let you have a skim through this, mate, because I reckon you might better pick this one apart.
Well, Over the Top, I think, is going somewhere else on Thursday. So I'm not entirely sure he's going to come in here. But this race there's so many form lines all tied in together in this one race, right? So up the straight, I don't know if you watched his run, right, the other day. He absolutely bolted up by 18 lengths, right? And he beat Cat Tiger, who's in here, yeah? Now, he came from the rear, he picked. There was a runaway leader. Cat Tiger tracked him by about 6 lengths behind. There was about an 8-length gap back to the pack. Obviously, Cat Tiger's done far too much too soon, and the up the straight just came and picked him up. But he had loads left in the tank. Now it's just working out whether that is, you should take that for face value or not, or it just benefited from the strong pace. Because I'll tell you something now, right? Listen to this. You've got to bear with me with this, right? So up the straights beat Cat Tiger by 8 lengths, right? Well, the fourth in that race, a horse called Keep Moving, ran today and finished fourth behind First Lord de Coué, right? First Lord de Coué finished fourth behind Edward Stone, Fiddler on the Roof, and Philco de Voy, right? Fiddler on the Roof obviously finished behind Tyne Hill. And Happy Go Lucky, who's also in here, finished 3 1/4 lengths behind Tyne Hill. Phil de Voy finished second to all of the gins, right? All of the gin joints, sorry, who beat boss man Fred, who came out and won today, right? And then you go through like to House Island, who's beaten Imperial Alcazar already. That horse then beat Coconut Splash, who ran well the other day before coming down in a good-looking novice event, right? And then Arillo and House Island have both got form that ties in together. They've both beaten each other. So there is so much form that ties into this race. But for me, in here, there's a horse. Like Happy Go Lucky is going to be the favourite in it. Without a doubt, with that run behind Tyne Hill, it looked like he wants further to me, though. So a drop back a furlong, I'm not sure is going to be ideal. I like all of the gin joints. I think this horse is really talented. His debut form, it's worked out really well. Obviously, Bossman Fred's came out and he dropped back and grade a little bit. He was odds on, but he came out and emphatically boosted it over 3 miles. And all of the gin joints would have cleared away from that rival if he wouldn't have made a mistake at the second last. Just sort of idles a little bit in front. Now, I think he travels like a really good horse. If you think of the way Reserve Tank runs, you know, when he tucks his head in, he's got that compact look about it. It looks like a really decent horse. And I just think with that form being boosted, I think the drop back in a furlong is definitely going to help him. I think he's a proper talent. I really do. And Colin Tizard always has runners in this race. They've not always, you know, come out and done very well in it. But the race that all of the gin joints won was actually won by the likes of Altior, Dynamite Dollars, Pim. You know, some decent horses have won the race that he won on debut. I just think he could be a serious horse. And with this race going to cut up a little bit, I think he might provide a little bit of value, because a lot of people are going to be looking at Imperial Alcazar and Happy Go Lucky. I just think he is the one to side with in this race. Even though Happy Go Lucky is going to be the favourite, I just think that horse wants further, personally. But I'm really quite excited about all the gin joints. I know I've got a bit bad in there, but
no, that's fair, mate. And to be honest with you, I class these sorts of races as inbred. It's one of them in it that literally every horse has touched each other at some point. They've only raced a couple of races this season as well, haven't they? But I think you're probably spot on there. Of all the gin joints, probably does look the one that's in there. We're both in agreement that Happy Go Lucky will be favourites. So if for any reason they price this up, probably anything 3 to 1 plus, that might be the one to possibly side with a bit. The one thing I did a couple of years ago on this, because I'm constantly asked about targets for the festival, all those sorts of things. And a couple of years ago, when On the Blind Side was entered up to run in here, and everyone was talking about him being the next thing since sliced bread. Everyone was talking about it being like it'll be Ballymore favourite before it should be backing for the Ballymore before this race. This particular race, and no horse has ever gone on and won the Ballymore as it was moving into. I did a few stats on it before, but the winners of it, 10 of them have gone into running in the Neptune. None of them have won it. 4 of them didn't even run at the Seasons Festival. So this is from 2000 up to now. 1 of them ran in the Martin Pipe. 1 went into the World Hurdle. 1 ran in the Albert Bartlett. But none of them have ever gone on to win at the festival. So I like the fact that they are probably some nice horses in here. But if we're looking at the longer term, runners up in here, though, we've had 6 of them didn't even run at the festival. 4 of them ran in the Albert Bartlett. 3 went on in the Supreme. But 2 horses that got beat in this both went on to run in the Neptune, and both of them won it. So No Refuge and Simon Sig. 1 of them went on to run in the Champion Hurdle. 1 ran in the Coral Cup. So it's one of them that, like you've done there, we've gone through it, and of all the gin joints, might be the best horse in here. If he doesn't go and win on Saturday, you wouldn't want to be sort of putting him on a bad list to worry about for the rest of the season.
No. And look, you go through all these form lines here, you can sort of see that they are sort of second-rate form lines. You know what I mean? Look, the Time Hill form line sets the standard. This is sort of a level above. The more you go through all these form lines where they intertwine, you can sort of see they're a level above that sort of. So I wouldn't expect any of these to come on and to win the Ballymore, for instance. But I think the one with the most, I think if Happy Goes Lucky goes up to 3 miles at some point, be very interesting. I think All of the Gin Joints is the one that is probably got the better future, if you like. Far over the top, because that's going to go somewhere else, I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's it. So he obviously would be a really interesting one if he came in here. David Maxwell's got a couple in here. Cat Tiger, like you mentioned, probably did a bit too much, idled about a little bit. He got a bit of stick for that ride, I think. Maybe could have finished a little bit better. He's got another one, Saint Xavier, that's come over from France, hasn't run from yet. It's officially rated 140, 7-year-old. God knows which one of them will run, but that's got entries elsewhere. I know we've probably done this one to the death already, but Enrillo, the last time that ran, was just I don't even know what happened to it. It was odds on. Just the jockey said that it hung. It was first time Bryony's ridden it. It looked quite good before that.
Yeah, it did, but the form's not really worked out with the win counter form's not really worked out to be much. At the time, it looked like that Thunderstruck was quite a decent horse.
Yeah,
it's really come of it. I mean, he did beat House Island by 3 lengths, but then that rival obviously reversed the form. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of him, to be honest.
Fair enough. So we'll squeeze that one off then. There's an amateur rider handicap chase after that, so we're not fussed about that. There's a novices handicap after that. So for me, I'm done with Sandown on Friday. Is that right with you?
Yeah, move on, mate. Yeah, there's just a few big handicaps. There's one I like in the 120. Espoir the guy, but he's entered all over the place, so it's probably not worth going too deep in about.
Names to remember for the weekend, though.
Yeah, Espoir the guy.
Yes. There was quickly before we go on to the weekend stuff, there's a couple of nice races at Exeter. There's the 1255, which is a National Hunt Novices Hurdles. There's a few of these horses that are doubly entered over the weekend, but Nicky Henderson's got Chantry House entered here. JP's also got Sporting John entered, that won over course and distance the last day, quickened really nicely from the last flight. He reopposes, or could reoppose. Bullionaire, Harry Senior's in there. It just looks, considering the number of entries that are in there, obviously they're not all going to turn up, but it looked like it could be half decent in this race. So I just probably want to say that Edward Stone was the one that beat, was it of all the gin joints the last day? He looks quite nice. Again, he's like duly entered, but for the level of horse we're talking about there, we mentioned in the previous race, the Winter Novices Hurdle, they might not all turn into festivally horses. What did you make of Sporting John's debut at Exeter? Did you think he was pretty good?
I don't know. I thought he was quite good. I think he might have won a lot further. He won his point over 3 miles, didn't he? I know they all won over 3 miles, but it looked like the pace was just collapsing. He was just outstaying them. I don't know if he's going to go here, but Edward Stone, I think, is a proper horse. When I saw him at Wincanton, he just looked like a beast, and he beat Fiddler on the Roof. Sorry, not
That's it. Yeah.
And but he was going away after, like, once they crossed the line, he was hard to pull up. I just think it's going to come on leaps and bounds. I think he's a proper horse. Whereas Sporting John, I think he's talented. I think he is a decent horse. I think he's going to be one of those horses that just take that little bit of time, find out what his proper trip is. I'm surprised he's not running over 2.5, to be honest.
Agreed.
The last one.
The thing is, they went like fairly quickish in that race the last day, so it's tricky to completely understand how it's going to work out going forward. But I was the same as you. I think he'll probably be better stepping up in trip. Chantry House that I mentioned, that obviously did beat Edward Stone in a bumper last year. It's his only entry at the moment. He's been entered up before now. I'd be pretty confident that he would run at Exeter this Friday. So he looks like he could be something decent, doesn't he? Yeah,
really good. The form's working out really well. There's a lot to like. Just shame feels like he's had a few entries, Chantry House, hasn't he? And it's just not been running. I'm not sure why. I don't know.
I think because the plan was to go to Newcastle on Saturday, same day as the fight in fifth, so Barry could ride him with Boo there. But I don't think it ever worked out. The ground and all those sort of things went out. So I don't even know if he actually ended up holding an entry there. He had another entry somewhere else the day before. But I reckon this looks, although there's some half decentish horses in here, probably looks an easy enough entry. There's the race after that, the Novices Chase. So that's over 2.5 miles, or the best part of it. A few of these are entered to run tomorrow. So things like Whatmore, Fiddocks are running, so they won't be in here. But Good Boy Bobby, a horse I know you likes, entered up. Somerville Boy that could run in the Henry VIII on Saturday's entered. There's Cateson in there. There's a couple for the Ruckers and Williams. Esprit du Large, who's also in the Henry VIII, and then Present Value in there. You had a chance to look at that one. Any thoughts on them?
Not too deeply, but obviously I'm a big fan of Good Boy Bobby. I did fancy him for the JLT or the Arkle. I'll put him up for both markets after his Carlisle run. But when I saw him going left-handed the other day, he was jumping to his right, and I just thought it just looked like one to avoid. But he's back right-handed at Exeter. The extra distance in the trip won't be an issue. If he can get a soft lead out in front, it'll be very hard to beat. In my opinion, he jumps well. I think Somerville Boy's definitely going to go over to Sandown. Present Value is interesting. Spirit de Large interesting. Apart from that would be the three to focus on. Evan Williams is not going to run both of them, is he?
No.
But I think Present Value's definitely got more to come. I'd be running Present Value in a handicap.
Snap off 128. It needs to be there. I think with Somerville Boy, I mean, they want to be running him at Sandown because they want to run against some proper horses, but I reckon he's going to bottle it. I reckon he'll run here on Friday.
I'll tell you what, he was favourite earlier for the Henry VIII, and how he's favourite, Dave, honestly, I have no idea, mate. This horse, he outstayed First Flow when he beat him, and First Flow he made a comedy of errors, jumping to his right. Look, and I'm talking violently right. He was clattering fences all over. How the hell you can make him favourite for a Grade 1 after that victory is ridiculous. But we'll get on.
We'll do that. We'll squeeze on to Saturday now. So, it's just the main reason to cover a couple of those races is we'll go on to these on Saturday. We'll talk about the entries. The fact that a lot of them are sort of doubly entered. We don't know for definite where they're going to go, but without blowing our own trumpets too much, we've been doing this for quite a while now, and you tend to pick up a few little things, don't you, to be able to get an idea of where horses are going. And they stick so many short-term anti-post markets up now where horses are entered up, they're short enough prices, they're not even going to run in the race, but obviously the bookies are still taking bets on them, so just something to be mindful of. So Saturday at Sandown, we've just touched on Sporting John. He's entered up here at Sandown over 2 miles. So we'll have to see where he potentially ends up. Fiddler on the Roof's in there, so that's a horse that I know we both quite like. The one that sort of jumps out to me a bit in here is Timberman, that was second to Son of Camus at Newbury. And I don't know whether he's just going to be one of those horses that doesn't want to go and win races, because I watched his point-to-point back, and I don't know, I reckon there could be something a little bit rogue about him, but he looks like he could be quite a good horse. Nicky Henderson's got a couple of other entries in it, but none of them are good enough to win it. Daphne de Clos, second season novice. But might be more forward. Just think that race, given the one at Exeter looks like Sporting John would be reopposing the other horses. I know he's got the course distance form. This would potentially look a bit of a weaker race in terms of depth. What would you think of it, mate?
I think Timberman are definitely going here. Nicky Henderson's won 8 of the last 10 of these, finished second and fourth. He absolutely owns this race. Timberman was entered up on Wednesday, and he pulled him out, and this is his only other entry. So I assume he's definitely going to be going here. I really like the run behind Son of Camus. See that the winner's gone out and give the book form an emphatic boost, because I think that's going to work out really well, that Newbury race.
Agreed.
And I just think it was a choice of Nico that day, and I just think, I don't know, it was just something, it just didn't push him right out at the end, you know what I mean? The race had sort of got away from him a little bit, and he just looked shaped like he needed the run, in my eyes. Now, I haven't watched back his point-to-point yet. I will do if he gets entered up in there. But I think he looked like a really nice horse the way he travelled. I would think that they think that he's better than Son of Camus.
Yeah, I agree.
Is the thinking I would go with this. Like I say, I think Sporting John will go over to Exeter. And
the only thing with that Sporting John thing is the fact that Chantry House has his only entry. So I reckon possibly they might send Sporting John here, but if that just goes to show what sort of calibre they expect him if they push him to one side because of Chantry House, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But it'd be a good race if he did turn up at Sandown, to be fair. It'd be giving £6 away to Timberman. But yeah, I'd be the same as you. I'd fancy Timberman in this. Obviously, it's always price dependent, isn't it? But there's nothing else that even jumps out at me that could be a bit of a value price in there. Anything else in the race?
There's absolutely nothing in there for me apart from Timberman, who's of massive interest. He went straight in the track that day, so you know I think he's a pretty decent horse, to be fair.
Yeah,
we're not doing the mare's handicap hurdle, are we?
My second favourite type of race, just behind the mare's novice handicap hurdle. Attempts qualify. Oh, so I don't really want to go on this race too much, but Remastered has ended up a few times, isn't it? We said about it at the November meeting at Cheltenham. Even me and you, when we were at Chepstow, talked about it a little bit. Are we ever going to give him another chance?
No.
Dog.
He's a nutter, mate. He's a nutcase. He might be talented, but he just don't want to. He looks like I don't know.
If he
runs over 2 miles, he looks like he wants further. He runs over further, he looks like he wants 2 miles.
Yeah.
He'll run in 2 miles, and he'll look like he won't get home.
I think they've got him entered in a 3-mile race. I reckon they're going to stick him up to there, hoping the slower pace will suit him. But I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know what's going on with him. He'll be one of those horses, though. As soon as he goes and wins a little race, you might want to keep an eye on him for the next couple because he might just hit a bit of form. But he's on the dog list, isn't he?
Absolutely dog list.
Right. There is in that handicap as well, because it's a Patemps handicap qualifier. One of them, we all know what they do in there. As long as you finish in the top 6, don't matter. You don't want to win. There's a load of them in there that their marks due to go up anyway. So I just wonder. I'm not too interested in it, but it could be an interesting one for when I do the write-ups for the weekend. So we're on to the Henry VIII Novices Chase. I love this race.
Just quickly, Dave. Just quickly. Yeah. Just for anyone listening, if you can, avoid betting in them Patemps handicaps because everyone wants to finish 5th and 6th because their handicap mark doesn't get risen too high. They can creep through the season and get in a Patemps final of a relatively low mark. Do you know what I mean? So they're not dodgy races.
Yeah, but they're dodgy races. Boom. Right, on to better class race. I think obviously the Tingle Creek is the pinnacle of the weekend, but this, I wouldn't say it looks like it's the greatest renewal of all of it, but it's one that I'm seriously excited about because if we look at the fact that, well, Dan Skelton's got a load of entries in it. He's only going to run Nube Negra. Harry Skelton's jocked up on it. Mare Banree's going to go in a Mare Novices Chase. Well, that's where she's ended up anyway. I mean, Beakstown doesn't want to go back to 2 miles. I know it can't breathe, but nah. That Esprit du Large that we touched on before, I'd like to see him go in there. I think he definitely deserves a crack of it. Grand Sance's jocked up with Harry Cobden. He'll be making his chasing debut in this race, which it'd have to put you off. You want some experience. Ruth Jefferson's a return ticket, not good enough. Somerville Boy, I do think he'll go to Friday. Jonathan Burke on the Racing Post is jocked up for the Friday race. He's not jocked up on it. It doesn't mean definitely he'll go there, but Tom George will bottle it. I don't think he'll run in here. What will run in here and what will run very well in here is Torpedo. Absolutely aeroplane. Does Nube Negra all over the park. Hacks up. Torpedo. Nap of the weekend. Boom. Done.
When I said to you, how did Torpedo run on the opening day of the season? You went, yeah, he's all right. A bit of a dog, though, isn't he? Right. Torpedo. Finally, the market's corrected itself a little bit. Torpedo is 100% the right favourite. I don't think he'll win, but he's 100% the right favourite. The ground's quickening up now. He wants a bog, I think, to be at his best. I think the railway fences at around the back of Sandown, I think, might catch him out. I know he's won both his hurdle starts here, but chasing at Sandown's a different game to hurdles.
Correct.
Altogether. I know he gets the allowance as well. So, yes, he definitely should be favourite. But I think he's worth taking on. And there is an outstanding novice in here. And it's Nube Negra. Outstanding jumper of a fence. I'm slightly concerned because most of his runs have come left-handed.
Yeah.
But if there's ever a test of a novice's jumping, it's at Sandown. And he can jump a fence. He has been so impressive.
Yeah.
Somerville Boy, could not have him with your money. Honestly, I couldn't. He needs a step up in trip to be seen in a better light. Grand Sancy, this is not really a race to be making your debut over fences in. I'm not entirely sure this has probably been the plan for Grand Sancy after I think if he would have beat Fusi Raffles, I don't think he'd be here.
No.
Personally. Marie Banrai jumped impeccably when she beat
Thomas Darby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She jumped impeccably, made no errors whatsoever, no mistakes, and Thomas Darby still ran her down at the finish. She is nowhere near good enough. Beakstown, no. Return ticket, I'm quite interested in return ticket, but from a handicap perspective, not for this race. Spirit du Large is very interesting, but Nube Negra for me will be if anyone can turn over to a pillar, it'll be Nube Negra. Great. I just think his jumping might come under a bit of pressure, and I think Nube Negra is one of those, one of those hurdlers that weren't that great of a hurdler, but then they go over fences and they're just really bloody good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, mate. The thing with the race is, I literally just pitch up. It's them two. And when you were talking about Nube Negra jumping well, he ran against, I think it was Ballymoy, wasn't it, on debut? There's like 5 fences that come on the spin there at that track, and Harry Skelton just sat on top, went out quick, and then as soon as they got to those fences again, he literally just flew at them because he knew that he could jump every single one of them, and that's what it'll be like at the railway fence, wouldn't it? He's confident enough to chuck him at a fence.
Exactly.
The thing with him as well is there was reports. Well, people obviously I get loads of people messaging me stuff about horses. Some of it's you just don't know really. But someone said that he was scoring like an aeroplane at home. I was just wanting to watch him on that debut, and he did obviously fly. I definitely think he is. It's between them two, Torpedo, Nube Negra. I agree with you on the ground as well. Nube wants it a bit quicker. Torpedo wants it a bit slower. I was just pleased that when they priced this race up, they made Somerville Boy favourite because, like you say, he should have been. I've actually played the pair in this. I've backed Nube Negra at 11-2, and I've backed Torpedo at 11-4. I've got Nube Negra just as a bit of cover, Torpedo to win, but you'd be the other way around, I reckon, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. Well, it's very tight between the two. Listen, if Nube Negra had already gone right-handed this season on his second start instead of left-handed at Fakenham, I'd be all over it. I'd be seriously getting involved in it because I've got him as one of my top-rated novice chasers already this season.
Yeah, he did win a hurdle right-handed, I think, didn't he? But yeah, he hasn't run right-handed that often. The thing is, the flatbred horses, I didn't really buy into this too much a good few years ago, but flatbred horses that go over fences they typically over a long period can be quite inconsistent. So there'll be a point where Nube Negra will just not run very well, I reckon. But at the moment, he's looked flawless in those 2 chase starts. He probably was the one to beat. It's the Torpedo, the few pounds that he's getting as well. I do just think it's between the pair. I can't see anyone else winning it.
No, I can't see anyone else getting close. And I don't think if they're serious about chasing with Grand Sancy, they're not going to go hell for leather on Chase debut either, are they? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it. You run him in here, and if he gets beat over now, then he's still a novice after. They can go back to hurdle, they can do whatever they want with him. And that's what Paul Nicholls does with a lot of his young horses when he runs them over hurdles at the end of the season, like he did with Pictor, all sorts of horses like that. He'll just run them in top-graded races because if they get beat, they get beat. It doesn't really affect them too much going forward. I think the only thing with it is, like, they're not saying they'll always turn into these types of horses, but you'd like to think whatever wins this will come back and run in the Tingle Creek next year. Could you honestly see Nube Negra or Torpedo being competitive in a Tingle Creek in a year's time?
No, but it's the nature of the race, isn't it? It's not the strongest race. Dynamite Dollars, So Royale, Altior, Ahmad, Phil Brighty, Valtat, the last 5 winners or 6 winners of this. 5 winners of this. You ain't got nothing like that in here this year.
Absolutely agree.
Like we say though, we're not very strong on the novice chase 2-mile division, are we at all?
No.
We weren't last year over hurdles, and we're certainly not this year over fences. The novice races, I think, bar perhaps Champ, are going to definitely go over to Ireland. So I think this might be a good opportunity for Nube Negra, to be honest with you. But
I agree.
Depends what they price up, doesn't it? Because this is going to cut up, and as we know, they might be 15 to 8, 2 to 1 pair, or 6 to 4, 2 to 1 a pair, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. Well, as it stands at the moment, it's 9 to 4 Torpedo. He was available at 11 to 4 last night. Nube Negra has been back from 5 to 1 into a top price 100 to 30 now. So that's about where they are. It's like I said, some of them are always not going to run here. The interesting thing is with races that we've looked at before, even going back to the November meeting, things like Getaway Trump, Al Dancer, the horses that run in those 2-mile chases at Cheltenham, typically you'd see one of them coming in here. Obviously, we had Lalore in here last year, but I'm a tiny bit surprised that neither of them have come over it, especially given that Getaway Trump won his handicap round the track. But obviously then want to give him a bit of a break. So that's enough for that race. I'm going to skip through the next handicap, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
We're just going to get on with the Tingle Creek. So, I mean, this is going to go on for hours, so we'll try and keep it nice and condensed. The first question I want to ask you, when we sat here and we talked about the slower chase, you were team Politologue, I was team Defi.
Yeah.
You weren't the only one, although Defi Du Seuil did go our favourite. I asked 25, well, actually it was a lie, 23 very close, respected people that I'd trust their opinion on. Genuinely, I was the only person that said Defi would win in the slower chase. All the same sort of things that possibly might need further, all those bits and pieces. So you weren't alone in that thinking. But I don't know where you're going to go with it now. We'll see when you say about it in a moment. But I had Politologue 100% down for the race in the slower as a prep run for the Tingle Creek. So I'm very surprised to see the price differential now. I can't believe that Politologue was 5-1 or 11-2 this morning for this race. I think it's ultra competitive. They're all off level weights. If Du Seuil comes over, again, he'd be like a torpedo. You'd want the ground a bit softer for him. He'd be the one they've all got to beat. But Defi Du Seuil, Politologue, waiting patiently, slightly interesting coming back at 2 miles, but you can't be anywhere near him. Sceaux, although he has run well, all those sort of things, I wouldn't have him as a winner of the race. I think it is between Defi and Politologue, unless Du Seuil comes up. I'd be tempted at the price. I like Defi, but I think Politologue could be a bit of value. Daryl, it's all yours.
Yeah, I got it wrong at the Sceaux. Got it wrong. Politologue has got much more in his favour this time, going back right-handed. Look, Defi, the way I analyse jump racing, as you know, is about fence by fence, and Defi Du Seuil made fair. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but he made a fair few errors that day. Politologue literally winged every single fence, bar the last where he got a little bit tight. But Defi Du Seuil just he had his measure, 100 yards from the line. He did have his measure, and after making those sort of mistakes, I would have to turn around and say, well, there's not really any way you can reverse the form. Is there enough of a margin for Politologue to be able to reverse the form with Defi Du Seuil? I just think Defi Du Seuil is so tactically versatile. It's very hard to get beat. Like I say, Du Seuil, this race is going to evolve around Du Seuil. He's on the drift now at the 4-1. I think he might stay in Ireland. If he stays in Ireland, where's the pace going to come from? It's probably going to come from Politologue. And Defi Du Seuil is just going to sit on his tail and just do him like he did Lost in Translation for a turn of foot. I do think that might be the case. However, like I say, if Du Seuil comes in here and goes hell for leather and fires at each fences and puts Defi's jumping under a bit of pressure because he can make those silly mistakes, then he's going to struggle here. So it's very hard to assess this race until we've got the final field, if I'm being completely honest. But I would expect Defi to come out on top over Politologue if Du Seuil doesn't run.
All right. Well, see, my take on the pace angle of it is, have you seen Ornura? Well, you've definitely been racing when Ornura's been running. Have you seen Ornura in a pre-parade ring?
Yeah.
Nutcase, isn't he?
Yeah. But when he runs,
but if we're talking about pace in it, Ornura is going to be gone. I mean, unless he makes a mistake or falls or whatever, he'll be going hell for leather. So I think that's going to suit Politologue. I expected Sceaux to do the donkey work at Cheltenham. Obviously, he didn't do it. I reckon Politologue's going to get a lovely tow round in here, and the ground's going to be quicker than it was at Cheltenham. I know it's a bit of a staying track, all those sort of things. £3 better off with Defi. I'm definitely in. I think the winner would come from them three: Defi, Politologue, and Du Seuil. That's not really saying much because they're first three in the bet. Anyone could pick that out. But I'm genuinely surprised at the price differential between Defi and Politologue. I know everyone's now we're not jumping on the Defi bandwagon, but everyone's sort of appreciating that Defi can do it at 2 miles. But that was soft ground at Cheltenham. Politologue did the donkey work. Politologue probably needed the run maybe more than Defi did. I don't know. I reckon Politologue. He's won this race before. Like Defi is the right favourite, given the fact that he beat him in the slow. All those sorts of things. I get that, but I'm switching teams. I'm reluctantly want to go Politologue just for the prices.
But what's changed for Politologue to turn the table? I know you said he's £3 better off. He's going right-handed now, which is a plus for him. I know what you're saying. Actually, Paul Nicholls can ready one for a day, can't he? that is Paul Nicholls all over.
Yeah, and we know that the go-to thing that we often say about horses when we say that they need a run is you can see at the end of a race, it's nothing to do with their stamina or anything like that. If they just don't finish off the end of their race, isn't it? Coming up the hill. And I know Defi always had his measure, didn't you? I just don't think Politologue looked 100% fit for the slow. I don't think they ever had him wound up for it.
You don't think?
No, and that was half my logic why I thought Defi would beat him in the slower, to be honest. So because that was my logic, and Defi has done him, I wouldn't be so well. I know that people aren't being harsh on Politologue, but I think like pricey wise, I think people maybe are. I definitely think I'd give Politologue a chance. The thing is, we'd like Defi to go and bolt up in this because then we have got an absolute aeroplane of a 2 miler to get excited about. If Politologue goes and wins this, then it's pretty dismal for the 2 mile chasing sphere, given that Altior's messing about. Defi might then go to the Ryanair, all those sorts of things. Politologue's not going to win a champion chase. It'd be good for horse racing if Defi Du Seuil hacks up, but I reckon from a punter's perspective, I'd give Politologue a little chance. If I get it wrong here, then I'll never say no again.
I know what you're saying that, but I don't think Onua's going to go here. I think he's going to stay at Leopardstown, isn't he?
No, Aidan Coleman's on.
Yeah, but ain't he got an entry somewhere else?
Nah, they'll come here because he was second in the Henry VIII novices chase, wasn't he?
That's a dark box.
I'd be adamant that he comes in. Just for the fact that he ran so well at Sandown in the novices chase last year, there's not really anywhere else they can particularly go with him.
Well, if they're going to go hell for leather, then you can't really write off Sceaux Royale, can you? Right,
Maybe not. And the thing is, the ground will come right for him because obviously he's run last year, just lined for it because the ground went against him. He is reasonable round here, isn't he? But I don't know. This morning, So Raw and Politologue were the same price. So of the pair, if I was betting him in a match race, I'd rather go Politologue. But like you say, it depends what Du Seuil's doing. I think if we could probably so if we'll imagine it now, then all of the entries that are in here line up. Does Du Seuil win?
Yeah,
I agree. So we're saying if Du Seuil runs, he wins. The rest of it's just completely irrelevant, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. Then you've got the ground to think about. Yeah, you can't really. This is one of those races that's so tactical that you cannot even start to assess this until you've got that final field, because just one of the runners coming out, just Du Seuil coming out, makes a massive difference. If Onua don't run, it makes a massive difference. If you know, it's very hard to anti-post this. And I don't think there's enough value in the market to be anti-post betting this anyway. Do you?
Well, I've backed Politologue 11-2. This is one of them because it's a grade one and it's a big race for the Christmas festival. I've had 3 bets in this anti-post. So William Hill opens Defi Du Seuil up at 9-4. Too big, never going to go off that price. I backed Du Seuil, they made him 4-1. Thought that was too big a price, but he's probably about that now. You might even be able to get bigger now. And then, but when I've seen Politologue's gone out to 11-2 at one point because he was shorter than that, I've had a little play on Politologue. So, I mean, I've got the race covered. I'm definitely going to be all right in there. Politologue's just a price now. And I know that doesn't make a difference. Doesn't mean he's necessarily any more likely to win a race just because he's a better value price or whatever. But the closer we get into the time, all those sorts of things, it might not be enough of a test of stamina for Defi this year. Last year it was raining when it was pissing down with Du Seuil Altior. I don't know. I would at the moment, and the weather's going to stay the same, it'll be the same right up on Saturday. If Du Seuil runs, it'll be Du Seuil. If Du Seuil doesn't run, I'll be Team Politologue.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on this race.
Yeah, I think we need to, don't we? But it's a fascinating race to look at. It's one of them to pick apart as long as you want. I mean, let's be honest, we did it with Altior. It was a 2-runner race, wasn't it? Surname Altior. You pick the bones of it over and over and over, and then they go and run, and it's not how you want it anyway. It's just with races like this where you end up spending so much time looking at them and talking about them, they probably are the best ones just to sit back and watch, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we won't. What's that? Aintree, yeah, sorry, yeah. Thanks, mate. Otherwise, I'm going to keep waffling. Right, so we've done Sandown's covered for the weekend now. Where was the one at Aintree that I peeled up first? Oh, yeah. So, Edward Stone that we talked about, he's entered up in the novices hurdle of the opening race at Aintree. There's in there that was entered up at Exeter. So's Harry Senior. There's another Elliot Williams Rucker horse in there. One horse that needs to be mentioned because he's on my 20 horses to follow, but I'm tempted to sub him out, although I can't, is Le Incorrible for Tom Lacey. Because last year when he won his bumper, world was his oyster. They were talking about taking him to the 4-year-old bumper at Cheltenham on New Year's Day. He ran something else there, Glory and Fortune, that went and won it. Just looked like a really nice type. They're taking a bit of time with him. My big worry this season is Tom Lacey's horses. They're not running as well as Tom Lacey's horses probably can. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I'm just very reluctant to be near any of his horses at the moment. But he is one of my 20 to follow. It would very much look a race to be watching. If something like Edward Stone was to divert his other attentions and come running in here, this would very much look like a race he could go and win, wouldn't it? Yeah.
This is going to, like you say, this is going to cut up again, isn't it? I've not really got much of an opinion in here, Dave, unless Edward Stone runs, to be honest.
Well, that'd definitely be one. We talk about the Tingle Creek waiting for the final fields. Races like that are definitely ones you've got to wait for, aren't they? There's a listed mares chase. I mean, Casablanca Mix is in there. She's in either the Grand Sefton or something like that as well. Marie Banry, the one we mentioned in the Henry VIII, ended up in here as well. Listen Dear for Willie Mullins might or might not come over. I can't get excited about a mare's chase, even if it is listed. Can you?
No, leave this crap. I would already been putting on to the next race. Christ.
I'm trying to just make sure there's no one in the handicaps that I need to mention. No, trash. So, Betcher Chase, Beecher, whatever one wants to call it. I call it Betcher.
Why do you call it? Why do you call it Betcher?
Because it's not got an extra E or an extra A in it.
It's definitely the Beecher.
Right. This. You can have this one for free, to be honest with you. When you're doing your little talk at Sandown, and you're just thinking, right, we'll just chuck them a little bit of extra info. Tell them to put all of their kitty onto Mulcahy's Hill in the Beecher.
Yeah, I'll tell them in a 26-runner field to back the favourite, should I?
That's the way to do it. I think we mentioned in the November preview that obviously there was a chance that he could have gone against Holstone again, and then the horse that will never be mentioned again. But I was told around about that time they were aiming for this race. The vibe I got from that was that they know that he's going to run quite well next time out, or they think he would. They're obviously trying to keep a mark for obvious reasons. You don't want to go up another few pounds if you're trying a new discipline. I'm really interested in him. I don't think this race, from a trends perspective, there's really too much to look at. Horses of all ages win it. All trainers can win it. I think every single weight's won it. Top weights have won it before. Bottom weights have won it. But typically, more horses under 11 stone win it than anything else. So, Ballyoptic and Alpha Desobo, one of them's definitely running. So the weights will stay as they are. I just think I like Mulcahy's there. He's been around for a little while, and he looked pretty good at Cheltenham. Holstone's very slightly franked the form a bit. I'd give him a chance. Says enough, doesn't it?
I've got one in here, a massive price. So the horse is called Federici, right? Now, forget anything else that this horse has ever done on any other track apart from over the Grand National fences, right? In 2016, right, he ran off a mark of 136 in the Grand Sefton. Yeah, he finished sixth.
Yeah.
Right. 2017, he ran in this race, and he finished fourth off a mark of 133.
Black line. Right.
Last year, he finished fifth in this race when Walking the Mill won it off a mark of 134. He's only ran twice since. Once came at on the midway course here behind Kilasart. Forget that. He pulled up there. He's dropped down to a mark of 124. That's £10 lower than when he was fifth in this race last year. He's 33 to 1. And if there's ever been a horse that's been trained specifically for a race, it's this one by Donald McCain. He's 10 years old now. He ain't going to be going much longer. I can guarantee they handicapped this horse so well for this race. I think he is a massive each-way player. Whether he's good enough to win it or not, I'm not entirely sure. But there is nothing in here that looks extremely well handicapped, perhaps by the horse that you've mentioned. Yeah. But the thing with these sort of races is you want to back horses returning to these Grand National fences, because some horses jump the first couple and don't want to know. Yeah. And horses that return to these sort of races, they seem to love it year in, year out. That's why you've got like the likes of One for Arthur at the top of market, Walking the Mill, Vintage Clouds, Vixley on Rouge, as the me, who we haven't seen for, well, apart from that hurdle run. I haven't seen it over fences for a long time. Alfred De Zobo can't win this off 159, surely.
No.
And I think at 33 to 1, he's probably bigger elsewhere. I don't know if you've got it on odds checker, but he is entered in the Grand Slam later on in the day as well.
He's 40 to 1 for this race with Bet365. So, to be fair, you've made enough of a case there that I'm going to have a couple of quid on him. So I suppose the main question is the fact that because he's doubly entered, which is the better plot for him? Because this is obviously, what are we, 5 furlongs further up?
Yeah. I think that this looks the better race for him. I think the Grand Sefton might be an easier race for him, but he's the same price either one. So you can probably back them both anti-post for a tenner each or something.
He's one of the. Do you reckon? Because I know obviously, like when we put this out, the 30 or 40 people that watch it will probably be like shoehorned into it. But do you reckon? Because this will still stay a reasonable size field, won't it? I reckon we could probably wait till Friday and see what the decks are and get on him, couldn't we?
Yeah, but it only takes someone, a bit more well-known than us to be knocking about saying he's £10 lower than his running this last year when he was 5th.
Yeah, true. Yeah, worth a go, isn't it? Good spot, mate. Yeah, see, particularly races like this, I might end up having a little bit of a look at it at final declarations, but you pick one out. I don't need to bother now. There's a Fillies juvenile hurdle. Right, so we've got, boom, Many Clouds Chase. What I'm going to do with this is there's decent racing in Ireland on the Saturday as well. I'm going to shoehorn Many Clouds Chase, and then we can quickly talk about the Peterborough Chase as well, because we've got horses that have ended up in the pair of them. Colin Tizard has come out and said that it's ground dependent with Native River. He doesn't want it to come up too soft for him, but even more so than the Defi Du Seuil case, if Native River runs in here, absolutely hacks up, doesn't he?
Can't have him. This is a prep run. This is a prep run for the national. That's his big target. I know he's won well fresh before, but Kildesart wins this.
Yes.
Kildesart hoses up.
He's one that I was. Well, it was my secondary part of it. Got a little bit of notage on there, but I'm in agreement with you on this. If Native River didn't run in it, then Kildesart price will just be completely smashed up, unexposed. One here didn't he in the handicap. I think he's good, isn't he?
I think he's very good. I can't have Moit Boy. He's gone at the game. I think the ground's gone for Native River, to be honest with you, quicker than that. Black Corton's been running well under big weights and top and big handicaps, but I just can't warm to him. Yeah. Top Notch, he's ending up elsewhere. Is he going to go here? I'm not sure. No. ASO wants to drop back and trip. Definitely Red's trying to win it for the 3rd time in a row, but Christ, that run in the bloody Charlie Hall was awful, wasn't it? He had everything in his favour there, and he ran poorly. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Kildesart's a price. He's at 8 to 1 with Betfair Paddy Power. So at this point, with Native River in the race at 6 to 4, Might Bite in the race at 7 to 2 ish. Native River might not run. I think if he does, he's still the one to beat. Might Bite's got to go to Huntingdon for the Peterborough Chase. If he runs it, I couldn't have him to win it anyway. But that 8 to 1 Kildesart, I know it's short term anti-post, it's almost suicide, but that's too big to ignore, isn't it?
I think so. I think he's a good thing for this. Do you think Moit Boy go out? Do you think Moit Boy go elsewhere then?
He's been nibbled for this race, but I don't know whether he's been nibbled for this race because there's talk about Native River maybe not running. But I would expect that he'd go to Huntingdon for the Peterborough Chase on Sunday, over 2.5 miles. Nicky Henderson said, didn't he, at the beginning of the season or pre-season, that he's going to do something different with Might Bite. Running him over 3 miles at Aintree, the Many Clouds Chase, isn't doing anything different with him. He didn't stay in the Gold Cup, did he? He pulled up, even though he was sort of there or thereabouts. I'd drop him back down to 2.5 would be the thing for him, I reckon. If he ran here, I wouldn't be interested in him in the slightest. He's a terrible price.
I'd drop him back to 2 and just let him go.
Yes, do you know, that was my plot. When Nicky Henderson said he was going to do something stupid, Tingle Creek. Because
that's what I was
slipping up.
I thought the same thing. Just let him off the rein. Just let Nicky be riding the Ferrari.
How are me and you doing a preview when we were tipping up Mike Bite the same weekend?
Not for this race, though. Not for this race.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's one of them, innit? We'll have to see again final declarations. But even if Native River's in there, Kildesart would be the only one I'd be slightly worried about. He would need to improve a bit, but we'll just have to see. As I say, we'll go quickly to Sunday to that Peterborough Chase because there's a few horses that are entered in both of them. So take me a second to get it up. The race card, that is. 2 o'clock. So 2 o'clock Sunday at Huntingdon. So Yannicka's in here. Ended up in the Tingle Creek. The connections have said that it was ground, wasn't it? If it got heavy for the Tingle Creek, Yannicka would run. If it was good, so Royal will run. So Yannicka will come here as far as I'm concerned. Best place for him. He's going to win the Ryanair. Alpha Des Obo's even ended up here as opposed to the Beecher Chase. Top Notch is in here, probably runs. Hell's Kitchen that fortunately won the last day. Still think he can be quite good on his day, but he's a bit of a dog as well, isn't he? Labago Wars entered in this. Interesting enough looking race, but I mean, I wouldn't fancy Mike Bite in it, but you'd think that Mike Bite's got to come here.
Yeah. Labago War, Fav? What, after that terrible run in the Charlie Hall?
Absolutely, yeah.
Not for me. I think Labago War as well. I think her improvement last season came when she stepped up to 3 miles as well. I think that was her best. I don't know what they're doing with her, to be honest with you. They're dropping her back. But I don't know. I'd be quite interested in Top Notch to be around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Top Notch. Nice run last time over hurdles beating Roxana. I know that form's hardly been given a boost, but I thought it was a nice enough run.
Yeah.
He's a nice jumper of a fence, and he's quick. I like him over this sort of trip. Again, this is sort of this could go down to 4 or 5 runners, perhaps, with everybody going everywhere else.
Absolutely.
I think this is where Top Notch will go, though. So 9-2, I think he'll probably be a short price favourite for this.
See, I obviously Yannicka is in the same ownership, and it's with Nicky Henderson as well. I was really impressed with his performance in the Howden Gold Cup at Exeter. I know they were saying that the drop back in trip, things like that might have helped, but it was slowish ground. I'd give him a proper chance to be running this race, but the Top Notch thing with Nick Henderson, what they're going to do, where they're going to run him.
The thing with this Jannica is I do actually quite like him. I was told by someone last year that this is a proper horse. This is going to be a Ryanair horse, and this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah.
But I'm struggling to get my head round. If Jannica wins this, he goes to the Ryanair, doesn't he? He has to go to the Ryanair, right? But then Cyril de Lac surely has to go to the Ryanair. I know he was getting weight, but God, he couldn't get past him, could he? Do you know what I mean? But that's where. But no, I know what you're saying, and I feel the same way. But that's where you're at with it. If Jannica starts winning these types of races, you start all of a sudden you've got to go back through that side Cyril de Lac form and start going, wow, that was incredible. When it's
amazing. I reckon Cyril de Lac, her season or his season was last year. All that improvement that came through. Yannicka just bumped into one last year. This will be his year to shine. Again with this race as well. It's it's a grade 2. If you took even if all the horses that entered ran, he's not far off being the top rated horse already. And I wouldn't be particularly worried about anything else in the race. He's what I'd like to see him running it. He would be the one that I'd probably be keen on, but it does depend on what else they run. Top Notch, this is a race that's made for him, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I do like Jannica, I do. I struggle to warm to horses that have gone through the handicap system up into graded company. Do you know what I mean?
Especially when they've been beat. I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a struggle. I do like him. If he wouldn't have, if he'd have come straight from Otoy and and started running some graded races and beating, I'd probably really fancy him for this. But
yeah, one of them, innit? We'll find out more at the weekend, won't we? So we're up to the hour mark, but I really am keen to get through some of the Irish stuff as well. So there's some decent cards on on both the days. Just going to quickly skim through some of the stuff at Navan. So I'll literally go through it in race order. So you know where I'm at with it. The thing is, there was loads of these dotted about, so I'm just going to make sure I cover off the one that I wanted to for this. So Festival Dex is the first one. Gordon Elliott horse, won Punter Festival bumper by quite some way. It looks quite an interesting horse. Forged in Fire for Joseph O'Brien, that's Gigginstown horse. It's a full brother to Stellan Ocean and it's a half brother to Rager. Now, Rager was a horse that I thought could be better than he actually turned out to be, so he's probably one that'll be better over a trip. If this Festival Dex runs in the first race, he won't be any sort of a price, but he could be quite a good horse this year, I reckon.
I am honestly, Dave, I'll be honest with you, I've got no opinion whatsoever. I'd rather just listen to what you've got to say about this race.
Well, that's it. Festival Dex, if it runs, we'll hack up. If it doesn't run in the race, then just absolutely ignore it. The 12:35's maiden hurdle, but this one's over 2.5 miles. This actually looks like a reasonable race at the entry stage. Main ones to mention out of these ones, I suppose, Cobbler's Way, because he was second behind Andrew Dufresne's on debut. He was pretty good last year in a bumper. Looks pretty good in his point. I think he would have come on for the bumper of Andy Dufresne. So even just to see how it franks that form, he's worth watching alone in this. I reckon he will run in here. Column of Fire, his form is very patchy. He goes in and out, but he's always shown that he's got a bit of ability. So I wouldn't want to be backing him, but I wouldn't want to be writing him off just yet. Henry Brown is one as well that I don't think too many people will have on their radar. He's owned and trained by Noel Mead. So Noel Mead will be looking to get a decent performance out of him at some point, I reckon, and then flog him on. He beat Euro Tiep, which is a Willie Mullins horse in a bumper, beat him quite well. I don't think that Euro Tiep's that great, but I think this horse stepping up in trip after running in a bumper in October, now going over hurdles, he's very likely to have needed that bumper run. He's the sort of horse that could be in here against a couple of names that might go off a bit of a price. Longhouse Poet will be one that more people would probably recognise, Martin Brazil. He's a point and a bump winner, and the form of both of those, you could argue, looks okay, but you could also argue it doesn't look that great. I just think he looks like an above average horse, but an average horse all the same. But he might be one of those, if a couple of those runs, things like Cobbler's Way, because of the fact it's back behind Andy Dufresne's, and something like Longhouse Poet running there, that Henry Brown might go under the radar, so it'd be worth keeping an eye on the decks for that. Anything in there for you?
Only Cobbler's Way. I think he's very talented. I think he will definitely give the Andy Dufresne form a boost at some point. He went straight in my tracker after Limerick in December last year. I think he's pretty talented. I think he's a useful sort in his own right. So, and if he does come and bolt up, we can only see Andy Dufresne getting shorter and shorter for the Ballymore market, I would assume. Yeah. But apart from that, he's probably the standout for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm hoping that the bookies will see it exactly the same way, that he'll be short, and then that Henry Brown will be a bit of a price. Well, it's one of them that, because I don't really like betting each way, and I don't do it very often, but they're the sort of horses that I'll look at and think, wait for first show at the final declarations. You expect something in there to be short, but if they made a bit of a rick and priced this one up at sort of 10, 12 to 1, you know that he's going to be nibbled. And if he's not, then I'm happy to be riding on that bet at that price. But you can sort of get out of them when they do get nibbled. Straight after this is a beginner's chase. Obviously, the star attraction on the entries is Willie Mullins, Max Dynamite. No, I joke. It's Mellon. Mellon's ended up in here. He's been talking about stepping him up in Tripoli. I guess this looks like an obvious place for him to go. Doesn't look a really good race. There's a few horses in here that are okay-ish. Eurobot's a horse for Noel Mead that I quite like. He's one that will be all about chasing. He ran behind Minella Indo, Allahome. I mean, Moscovite was in front of him as well in the Grade 3 at Clonmel. But before that, he looked quite good in a maiden hurdle over a long distance. He might just be one of those horses that's just a bit slow, but I'd be interested to see him run anyway.
I'm not totally. I know a lot of people like Mellon for the JLT or whatever, for the ARC or whatever they fancy for, but I see Mellon as a bit of a gatekeeper, to be honest. He's a bit of the Derek Chisora of the boxing world. If you beat Mellon, you can go on to bigger and better things. I'm not entirely convinced that it is going to be top class. That's my opinion. And Glenn Lowe's interested in here, but I think he's being handicapped for the festival, so he might be one just worth keeping an eye on. He finished quite well behind for him when he ran, but sort of hung out the back, not really. Like, he's a talented horse in his own right, you know what I mean, and he can jump. I'll tell you that much. But I think they might be handicapping him, so it might be worth keeping an eye on him, see how he gets on. I can't believe they're sending Canardier over fences. That horse is so well handicapped over hurdles that it drives me insane. I lost a load of money on him at Punchestown. Apparently, he went to Aintree, and all the lads that own him and that was telling him on a backing for Aintree when he finished third behind Three Musketeers. He's just a bloody frustrating horse. But all I would say about this race is don't back Mellon, but keep an eye on Glenlow for future purposes. Do you fancy Mellon? Do you fancy Mellon for a festival then, do you?
Well, I'm very much suckered into value on stuff. So just because something's a massive price and I think it's overpriced, whether it'll win or not, sometimes goes by the wayside. But
that's fair.
When he was put out to 25 to 1 after he got beat by Fakir Dudri, giving him £8, I couldn't believe it. I think Mellon is he would have been an Arkle type if he'd have run it 2 seasons ago when he should have done. Running the Supreme, then he should have gone straight over fences. He was massive then. They probably messed about him a little bit, but I wouldn't have him a 25 to 1 poke for the Arkle. We've said already that the English horses are naff at 2 mile. I reckon he could win an Arkle.
I don't know. Talking of the Arkle, though, in the next race in the 135, I'm hoping my Arkle fancy at 25 to 1 Notebook gets his form boosted again by Claire de Beaufort if he runs. That's pretty good. Time form has just come out with their ratings, which is why I was a little bit annoyed when we first started this because, I'll tell you what, Time form have rated Battle Over Doyen 151, Champ 149. Now, who's Battle Over Doyen beaten? He's beaten any second now, a 150 rated chaser, right, who's only got that rating because he won the Kim Muir off a mark of 143, right? Before that, what's any second now done? I'll tell you what he's done, Schiller. He's won 2 races, the first 2 starts of his career over hurdles. That's all he's done. And because Battle Over Doyen's beating Workman like by 5 lengths, I mean, he was pushed right out, wasn't he? I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
He's given him a higher rating than Champ, who's just beaten Blackhawk, who won a Ballymore Novice, second in the Ballymore Novice behind Sam Crow.
Yeah.
152 rated chaser. It's madness.
I agree.
Anyway, that's enough of that. But yeah,
they do it quite a lot with the ratings, don't they? They get it a bit patched up, and I know they have to do it on sort of literal form and all those sort of things. But yeah,
but even the literal form is stronger than Battle Over Doyen all day. And I was looking forward to Battle Over Doyen this year. I've not been impressed. But Notebook, anyway, time form ratings. Notebook having for time form having 148. I agree with that. And Claire de Beaufort, hopefully he can come out and give it a boost.
Should be able to, shouldn't he? Because I think Tintangle, there's a mare chase that she'll go in, I think, over the weekend.
Yeah.
Tornado Flyer dropping back to 2 miles is ridiculously interesting for me because I thought he was going to be something special last year. He didn't look like a horse that wanted to be dropped back in trip on his chase debut, did he? But maybe Willie Mullins knows that a quicker pace, all those sort of things might actually bring out the best of him. I don't know. Be interested if he ran. Yeah,
it would be. He's a bit of a nutcase and all, isn't
he? Yeah, so it wouldn't be a race really for punting, but like you say, it's good for Frank in form, all those sorts of bits. There's a handicap hurdle here that, I mean, it can't happen. So the next race, the handicap hurdle, the 2A per me. Do you know he's right? I get a bit stuck with the handicap ratings of this stuff because I don't think he's run for a particular amount of time where he's not qualified, so his mark will be revised for this race. But his last mark for hurdles was 114.
It was 114.
Maybe there's a way that he's going to get snuck in and he'll be low. But if he ran in this race and his handicap mark was anything sub 130, I'd be getting the old wheelbarrow out and putting a few pennies on it.
The thing with that is, though, is like, Do It for the Village is a fine example. Like, he's at 138, whatever, 142, whatever, chaser. And he ran in the Wincannon the other week in a handicap hurdle of 115 and he just bombed out. It was just...
no. So he's obviously one to be careful, isn't it? But if he's £40 well in,
he's technically not. Well, like he should win off that much, shouldn't he? But he's technically not £40 well in because that is how bad he was over hurdles. He's just improved for effect. Like
through that. But before we get too excited about that, there is a once the wheelbarrow's got in on 2A per meet, are we going to have enough money to buy wide receiver before he wins the bumper? £410,000 they paid for him.
Is that what it was?
And when the bumper that was run this weekend, they spoke to Gordon Elliott about a couple of his horses that ran in there, and then he said that he's got a lot better at home than what ran in that race.
Oh, yeah, I'll see that.
And everyone's going mad about this wide receiver on the old social, all those sort of things. So if anyone has stuck with us for over an hour of nonsense, I think he's 20 to 1 or no, he might even be 25. I think he's 25 to 1 with bookies like William Hill for the bumper. So the same as what Fernie Hollow did this weekend. He was 20 to 1 before the entry stage. He got back all the way down to 14s or 12s. He stayed that price even though he got beat. This wide receiver will end up favourite for the champion bumper before he even runs in this race. He's entered on Saturday. He's entered on Sunday. Everyone's saying that he's an absolute aeroplane. So he'd be one to get in the old Cheltenham portfolio at a big price. Problem is, William Hill have got him top price 25s. Bet365 have got him 16s. Now, normally with Bet365, if they're top price, you can just back them before this race. If they get beat, as long as the price is shortened up beforehand, you can just get your money back anyway. So you can limit your risk, but he'd be one to get in your Cheltenham bumper anti-post book for sure, because he's going to win this weekend.
That's a bold statement, mate.
Oh no, but he wins. He wins easy as well. Thing is,
the only thing I would say is, I'll be honest with you. All I know about wide receiver is the quotes that I've read and the bits and pieces of information I picked up. But the thing is, when everybody normally thinks something, they're normally wrong. That's the only issue. Now, this could be absolute nonsense, but he might be very good. But there wasn't even this much splash about Malone Road before he ran.
No, there was a bit, but nowhere near as much as this.
But nowhere near.
I think it's blown up as well because Fernie Hollow got beat. I was still quite impressed, even though he ran really green. It's hard to knock a jockey for their ride because Patrick Mullins put him in front and the horse just did nothing in front, did he? He showed better when the other horse went past him. But I reckon this wide receiver wins. I want to see him this weekend anyway. But that looks a reasonable bumper. We'll squeeze onto the Sunday Irish stuff. Where do you want to go for first, Punchestown or Cork?
Yeah, let's go for the John Durkan.
Boom. Right. Before we get to the John Durkan, Front View is entered up to run in, and it's a rated novices hurdle, the 1220. Obviously, he came out to win after boosting the Envoy Land form, so I guess people would be wanting him to go and win again. Gordon Elliott's got a horse that runs in there. That's a horse that in time I think will be quite good, but he still looks like he's learning quite a bit. So I'd be interested to see if Front View runs. There's a mare's novice hurdle. Manella Medady, though, it's worth giving her a mention because she's going to win the mare's novice hurdle.
You think?
Well, there's two of Willie Mullins. Lamarquise that everyone's talking about for Willie Mullins. I got told about she was 33 to 1 when I got told. She still hasn't seen a race course. She's had a couple of entries and she's 7 to 1 top price now. So that's a bit of hype. And there's another one that he's got, Dulcita, that's been mentioned, but that's not really been backed. But yeah, this Manella Medady, she's quick. She'll win the mare's novice hurdle. Fact.
Well, that's that sorted then.
Stick her in a double with wide receiver and Melon Darkle. The John Durkan. I'm going to have to just leave this with you, mate, because I wouldn't know what to make of it, to be honest. Min should win, shouldn't he? But you can't back Min.
Absolutely. I think he should win. But this is more, instead from a betting point of view, I know we are all about betting, but it'd be good to see Presenting Percy here. There won't be no excuses for the ground and whatnot. I see someone wrote earlier, if Patrick Kelly doesn't send Presenting Percy in this weekend, he should be stripped of his licence. Because you've got to run the bloody horse, ain't you? You've got to run the bloody horse.
I reckon he'll run.
Yeah, this is Min's target, isn't it, every year? This Not every year, but he won last year, didn't he? But Mullins dominated this race for the last 5 years. I suspect this will cut up again really quite badly. Annabelle Fly, this is far too short for Annabelle Fly. Alfred is Over's going elsewhere. Duke de Never's no good. Hardline's no good. Your festival tip, no good.
Useless.
Real Steel, will they run Real Steel against Min? Not so sure. Shattered Love will probably go here. Tumik Permo is going to go and hose up off a mark of 114. Undersow's not going here. Wayne Paisley won't go here. Avoid the Rev. Your other Cheltenham tip.
Ugh.
Not good enough. It should be Min should be favourite for this. He should win, unless Presenting Percy turns up, and then that would make it more interesting. But if he doesn't, it becomes one of those races that it's not really that interesting again, doesn't it?
Do you know what price Min opened for this race? Well, I say opened. It was before the confirmations came out today. It was 4-1 Min.
You're joking.
He's even money within 5 minutes, but it was 4-1 before the entries and stuff came out, because Duvan was still in the betting and things like that. But army in it.
Mad.
So that's the best part of it there. There is a beginner's chase after it. It's got Bapalm in there again. Brecon for Willie Mullins would be slightly interesting. I know I've obviously quickly gone over Bapalm, but he was definitely just out for a run the other day. So I'd be prepared to give him another chance, but it looks a trash beginner's chase, if I'm honest. There'll be some okay horses in there. Probably something in that will end up going and winning, and maybe something like a Close Brothers at Cheltenham. They're the sort of horses I suspect them to turn out to be. The bumper here, though, this is where wide receivers also entered in there. There's a few other possibly interesting horses. Figure Rock of Willie Mullins and Rich Reekie. But yeah, from the bumper perspective this weekend, all I'd care about is watching wide receiver absolutely hack up. He does as well. Absolutely bolts him. Over to Cork. The Hillyway Chase is the big bad boy feature there, isn't it?
It's a good card over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks pretty decent, to be honest. There's a horse. It was Thursday, Willie Mullins' horse that's running. So I won't bother going back to mention that. But there's a Willie Mullins horse Thursday. That'll be up on the page when it runs that wins. So there's a Stayers Novice Hurdle. It's a 3-mile soft ground, grade 3. Fury Road's entered in here. He's my idea of. It's difficult with the Albert Bartlett because you might as well just wait to the day of the race and just pick out something that's a big price and you can get a winner of it. But like a long way out, Fury Road looks almost unbeatable in this sort of discipline this far. Battle of Midway looks a nice type as well, but I really would be expecting Fury Road to be short for this and to absolutely bolt up. He's definitely going to run here, I think. Get a grade 3 under his belt.
Yeah, agree. They're placing him quite well at the moment, aren't they?
Well, that's the thing, and it pick up a few races, I suppose. That's the only thing that worries me slightly when they don't take on the better competition. But if he needs a trip, then what do you go against?
We'll see what happens at Christmas.
Absolutely. So yeah, Daryl Carter's worth a mention, but I wouldn't have him in the same regard as Fury Road. So Hillyway Chase. Undersow obviously is in here. Undersow was in the John Durkan. Undersow is going to run in the Tingle Creek. Willie Mullins is going to run Silas Emery in the Hillyway Chase, I suspect. He might even put Duke Neva in here for company. Great Field might as well run as well. Ballyoshin can run for JP McManus. Us and them for Joseph O'Brien. Hardline for Gordon Elliott. Just run them all. Bar Undersow, I reckon. Because although he said with Min in that last race, I reckon he probably will run Real Steel against Min. Because I think Real Steel wants that middle trip and he's got to be tested in better company now. But if Silas Emery does run here, were you impressed with how he ran the last day?
I was quite impressed with him, yeah. I was. And I was impressed with him back in January as well. I liked his jumping. I think he's a decent horse, you know. He is definitely an outside chance at the moment for the Arkle. I was quite impressed with Ballyoshin as well, but he's so in and out. You can't trust him, can you? But I was really impressed when he beat a Plutarch at Navan. I thought he's a decent horse. But I think this is Silas Emery's race to lose, really. If he wants any sort of chance in the Arkle, he needs to be winning this, in my opinion. Even though it is a weak Arkle, I think he needs to be winning this. I do
Champion Chase.
You think he'll go Champion Chase?
Yeah, you keep
Sorry,
saying
I want to say Arkle. Yeah, he's still a novice, isn't he?
No, he won a novice chase last year.
Christ, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, because he was short. He was shortish for the Arc one. Then obviously
he got pulled out. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right. But they have been talking about him now for a champion chase horse.
I won't go that far.
No, right. I agree. And that's the limit when you look at these horses here. Are any of these horses? I mean, Du Seuil gone past that, but are any of these horses actually going to go and win a champion chase?
No. This is just a bit of cheap grade 2, really. I was quite impressed with Silios Emery, though. I can't believe I thought he was still a novice. Not that impressed now.
No, he's easily done on it. But the thing is, he was good last year when he won his novice chase. Then he picked up a setback. He's had injuries before because he's not really raced that much. And then he came out and he's won that. And I was fairly impressed with how he won it. But Onua, that we've touched on before, that's going to run in the Tingle Creek, was giving him the best part of a stone that day. Yeah. I just wonder whether. Well, I think he's a nice horse, but
he will win this. He will win this, but
unless Du Seuil runs in it, and Du Seuil wins it, doesn't he?
Well, it depends what the weather does, doesn't it? Du Seuil's so ground dependent, and I'd like to see him in the Tingle Creek though.
Obviously.
I think this will be his last year.
Yeah, and that's it. You might as well stick him in the Tingle Creek. Because what's the point in going out in a Grade 2 Hiddyway chase?
Well, that's it, isn't it?
So there's a mare's novice chase after this, a Grade 3. No point really talking about it, but that's where Tintangle will probably run. And then after that, it's just, what's that?
Signora is going to run in that.
Yeah, Henry de Bromhead's, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like her?
I think she's pretty smart. They said to Henry Bromhead, they said, is Honeysuckle not going to go over fences? He went, why do we need to do that? We've got Signora. So it's just the way he spoke about her. Pretty useful, I reckon. But time will tell. Time will tell. It's what is worth mentioning. But
yeah, definitely is.
Anybody's not a bad horse either.
Yeah, that's it. So there's a few nice enough types in there, but it's girls chasing, isn't it? That is pretty much it, I think, for the weekend's worth of it. So if you were going to pin yourself down now as an opinion for one horse to back this weekend, who would you say?
Kildesat. I think Frederiki's worth backing each way at 33-1 in either the Betcha or the Grand Sefton.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I definitely think you pick one out in there, which is the beauty of having someone like you in on here, because extra pair of eyes and you do know what you're talking about, mate. So good luck for Sandown for the weekend. I will see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there, mate.